Dome Runners TV, your guide to the Underhive and beyond.
Hey there, Scabby Scummers and Gangers, Crimson Oracle here, and today I will be talking to a Kickstarter founder who is looking to crowdfund a cool project. This is just part of the general coverage that I like to do of community projects because I think that they're awesome. And if you have a community project, a homebrew project, or something that you are interested in sharing with the rest of the Necromunda community, I would love to talk to you. So hit me up. And with that, let's get to the interview.
If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And for as little as $2 a month, you can become a patron and help support the show.
All right, so one of the things I like to do on the podcast and now here on the video channel is I like to talk to members of the community who are doing cool projects that I think are really useful. And here we have an example of one of those projects. Today we are going to be talking to Mark Latham, who has a upcoming Kickstarter that's launching this weekend if you're watching this on video, and this past weekend if you're listening on the audio, doing some cool stuff for the Necromunda hobbyists. Why don't you go ahead and introduce us to the idea that you got going on?
Hello, everybody. It's basically rulebook tabs is what I've called it. Let me think, maybe 6 months or so ago, I'm quite an avid Blood Bowl player. And I was sat actually playing the game one day, and I think in the similar way with Necromunda, there are so many rule books. I mean, with Blood Bowl, you've got the original rule book, then there's a Sevens rule book, then there's a Dungeon Bowl, and then every couple of months, Games Workshop put out a magazine called Spike, and they get rolled into the Almanac, the hardback book. So they've got an almanac for 2021, excuse me, and one for 2022. And obviously, as with Necromunda, the rules are spread across all those books. And I'm there playing, and I'm forever flicking and switching between pages, trying to find information. And I thought, God, I wish I had some tabs in these books. And it wasn't really, the idea was in my head, and it wasn't really until I went to a friend's house and we were playing Blood Bowl, and he had tabs in his book, but really just stick-it notes that were just plonked into the pages. And I thought, yeah, this is an issue. These books do need tabs. So I looked into it a little bit deeper. I used to be a graphic designer back in the past. I'm a photographer at the moment. But I basically put together some design ideas for some tabs for the Blood Bowl books, and then I found the printers, and then I did the whole Kickstarter campaign, which just basically blew up. I think my goal was like £1,200, and it hit that in 2 hours. I was like, right, okay. It just went everywhere, and I realized people actually really wanted these. And then the most important thing that I found was that I started asking people, well, what do you think? Because originally the tabs were along the top and the bottom and the side. And a lot of people said, we don't like the fact that they're on the bottom, because when you stand your book up in a bookcase, they're going to crease. I was like, okay, let's change that. And then I'd have people saying, well, the colours aren't quite right. I'm like, okay, let's change that. And it was kind of community developed. And I mean, luckily I'm very up to date with Blood Bowl rules, so I know what pages people use a lot of. So yeah, and then over the next 30 days of the Kickstarter campaign, the tabs, I don't know if this is a real word, but they were kind of community made, community developed, because a lot of backers were saying, can we do this? Can we do this? What about this tab? What about this tab? Are you going to do this book and this book? And it grew and grew and grew. And I developed 5 sets of tabs for the 5 Blood Bowl books. And then the printers printed them off, and they went out to just under 1,000 people. And then since then, I put them on the Shopify account where people can go and buy them. And it just, that was that project. So, but during that project, a lot of people said to me, Necromunda books could do with this. Because I was like, okay, fair enough. And, it's a game I don't play. So I was like, okay. And then more people mentioned Necromunda. And I was like, all right, let me get this Necromunda rulebook and have a look. So I went online, and I'm like, well, which is the rulebook? I mean, is it the hardback book, or is it this Ashes Waste rule book? And then you've got the house books, and I'm like, wow, which is, so it was confusing to me as a newbie to the game, really. So, but ultimately, I I looked at all the rule books and I downloaded a lot of the EPUBs that you can buy, and got my head around the whole system and thought, yeah, these really could do with the tabs. So it became the next project. And then, maybe a week or so ago, or 10 days or so ago, I just put a couple of links out on a couple of forums and Blood Bowl pages and Reddit, Facebook pages and Reddit groups. And it was the same kind of response. It was like, hallelujah, someone's doing this. It's like, these really are needed. And I started to get the same kind of feedback I got with the Blood Bowl books, where people were saying, which books you doing? Please include this, please include that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is what I need. And I'm actually in the process of learning the game, bizarrely enough. So, again, I think that community feedback is something that I'm going to lean on, because I found it really, even though I knew the Blood Bowl system really well, it was helpful. And I think with Necromunda, it's going to be even more helpful, because I don't know the system that well. And I'm sure people will say to me, that's wrong, or this is wrong. And that's kind of what I want. I need to be pointed a little bit. So, yeah.
I'm not surprised that there was the kind of reaction that you got, because honestly, like, the biggest constant kind of topic around this game, I feel like, of criticism or whatever you want to call it, is just the sheer spread of the rules across all these different places. Yeah. So like, you might have to check a couple different books, a few different books, to find which weapons, weapon trait section has the weapon trait that you're looking up, which even when searching through EPUBs is when you have to go through 3 of them, it's not very elegant. So I mean, the user interface the user interface on a book is definitely it's a little limited, especially when you've got the kind of, I wouldn't say haphazard organization, but I don't always agree with their choices in terms of where they put the stuff into the book. So they're, I mean, obviously there's no like right way to kind of organize the book, but it does feel like they've managed to, over the years, find a lot of wrong ways to organize their books.
The one thing I discovered, obviously, was that you've got your main rule book, and then vehicles are not covered in the main rule book. You have to have the other rule book, which is the Ashes Waste.
Yeah, you either need that or the Book of the Outlands. Yeah,
that's it. And then after that, the release the Outlands book, which has got more of it, and it's like that supersedes the Ashes book, and it's like, right, okay. So to me though, it's not so much which rules override other rules. It's like people finding them rules. Just picking up a book and seeing that section there quickly. I mean, it really is like, it's the most simplest of ideas, like to tab the books up,
right?
But it's just not being done. And it took a lot of time with my Blood Bowl project to find the right material for a little plastic tab, because half of it sticks to the page, half of it is what you would the color tab. I had to go through a process of different adhesives for the tabs. So, because the first set of adhesives that they sent me, I stuck them to the page and they ripped pages out. So that was too adhesive. So I went through a whole process of designing them and getting them just right. And then really at that point, then it's just like, is working out basically the best place to put them in the books for the information that people need to find regularly, quickly in a game or in a tournament. Obviously, I went to a Blood Bowl tournament a few weekends ago and people were using these tabs. It was great to see. In fact, it was just like almost unbelievable to see. I fully geeked out on it. Right. I was going up to people saying, yeah, I made those. And they're like, oh, cool, dude, thanks very much. I was like, I was so proud of them. And it was just cool people using them, going, where's that rule? And in a tournament situation, it's very handy. Then it's even handy if you're just playing with your friends, because, I mean, I've played Blood Bowl for, I don't know, 30-odd years, whatever, and I still can't remember the weather table or the kickoff table. And it's just like, how can we not remember this stuff? So I'm always constantly going into the book and find that information.
Right.
And hopefully this will resolve the same kind of issue when people have got the rule books on the table, playing Necromunda. They're like, oh yeah, where's that vehicle? Where's that weapon? Where's that gang? And it's it's just a simple set of tabs that help people find the information.
Yeah, no, it's definitely so much easier to kind of have that. Like not only is it easier to find things when it's very easy to kind of pick out the sections, but you'll get that kind of over time you'll develop that kind of muscle memory where it's like, oh, I need this, and you won't even kind of think about it. You'll just flick to the right tab, and you'll be in the section that you want, and then finding the individual thing in the section's not so hard, because it's all alphabetical or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they are. It's a simple idea. Nobody's done it like this yet, and it's just, I just think, especially with the Blood Bowls, I didn't know whether they work or not, and whether people would even be interested. And obviously, a lot of people are interested, and they do work. So it's like, right, let's do some more games. I mean, interestingly, we touched on this before we started recording about other game systems that are a bit less. I think Blood Bowl and Necromunda are very much. I'm trying to think of the word. You can kit bash them quite easily, and a lot of people use different Kickstarters for different teams and different gangs, and there's lots of, customization. I originally was going to do my second set of tabs for Age of Sigmar, but I found that a lot of the forums and Reddit pages and Facebook pages would not allow Kickstarters to be posted within them. It was almost like, no, you have to use Games Workshop endorsed figures and rules. And it's like, and I found it a massive stumbling block, actually. I actually did a full set of tabs for the Age of Sigmar book. And when I did the initial release, the preview, I didn't get any traction for it because I couldn't post it anywhere. Because obviously on the main Blood Bowl group, there's 30,000 followers on there, and the same in Reddit. And I did 2 posts in there, and boosh, everyone's like, oh my God. The Age of Sigmar main group's got something like 100,000 followers. And I posted in there, and they're like, no, you're not allowed to do that. I'm like, okay. I found a different group. No, you're not allowed to do that. And it's almost like they don't like the customization, or they just want it. We were talking about it before, weren't we? And I think with Necromunda and Blood Bowl, people like that, and it's part of the game, isn't it?
Well, yeah, those communities, I feel like, so we're kind of forged in neglect from Games Workshop, both game systems, they got released, and they got kind of, like shepherded along for a while, and then Games Workshop just kind of
forgotten about
them. and the communities kept both games alive. And I started playing Necromunda when it was completely unsupported. It was just, you converted the models you wanted to play with, you downloaded the old rulebook, and there you go. So like Games Workshop releasing new stuff was like, oh cool, there's new stuff to play with. But it wasn't like, all right, we need Games Workshop in order to have fun with this stuff. Like, we're very, the community is very self-driven to kind of make these games fun, and I think that there's definitely more of a spirit of that in the community online too, and I think it helps. Definitely. It helps that we're a little bit smaller, because I know from like having interacted with a lot of 40K Facebook groups before I got really into Necromunda, that they deal with constant deluge of stuff. They're just like, people are posting YouTube videos, people are posting Kickstarters, people are posting their STL Patreons, whatever, all this stuff, and they're just like, it's too much, we don't want to deal with we don't want to deal with
I think the admins just say it's easy for the admins to say no.
Exactly.
We're not doing Kickstarters, Patreons, nothing customized. We are going to have Games Workshop products, and that's it. And that's fair enough. But like you said, with Necromunda and Blood Bowl, they were both kind of neglected for a long time, built up like a niche kind of fan base. And then the fans say, no, we are going to allow this because this is how we kept our hobby alive for all them years, where you forgot about us, kind of thing.
Exactly. So, that's the thing, is like, I think that, it's important to kind of have that opportunity for community members to kind of, to grow a following and to be able to kind of reach everybody. So I think that can have a negative effect on the Warhammer and Age of Sigmar communities. Even though I understand where it comes from, it still feels like it's a bit, it makes it harder to, for anything not official to kind of rise above the din, and I think that is to the game's detriment, even though I completely get why they do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to I might be wrong here, but if you go to like an official 40k tournament for 40k in Age of Sigmar, you have to play their models. There's no customization allowed, and it's the same in Blood Bowl. If you go to a Games Workshop endorsed Blood Bowl tournament, you're not allowed to use 3D printed stuff and But that, I play Skaven, which is a 3D printed team. It's just like I couldn't play my game without having help from other people in the community printing teams off and stuff. But I think, it's just like, that's it really. I think Blood Bowl and Necromunda definitely have got their own little communities where you don't need Games Workshop. It's good when they release stuff, and we're all grateful for that, and that's brilliant. But there's so many people are creating amazing teams, and there's all the stuff. You can, I know with Necromunda, you've got the 40k game kill team, and people cross the figures over. And some of my friends have got like the figures from some Star Wars games, which is just to do with Games Workshop, and they use like the Mandalorian as some kind of figure in Necromunda. And it's great. It's all, and you can do what you want. It's endorsed. It's just like,
right.
There are no rules. We do what we want.
There's not official Necromunda events pretty much at all. Like even I run a Necromunda event at the Nova Open, and Games Workshop sponsors events at Nova, but they have pretty much nothing to do with the way the Necromunda event runs. They don't care, it's not in their their kind of marketing strategy to have competitive Necromunda.
No.
And our event's not competitive. It's designed to be fun.
Yeah, and can you imagine if Games Workshop came along and said, but you can only use GW figures? Everyone would be like, well, I've got no gangs, and
all of my boards,
this gang's got.
All of my boards are like custom 3D printed, like various MDF, brands.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
No, and your gangs have got an arm from this and a gun from this, and it's all a mismatch of everything.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think they could police that to make it work at all.
There's not models for. I think that there's like 100 different Dramatis personae across the various books, and like I think like maybe 20% of them have actual models, and the rest are it's just up to you. You convert it, you make it happen. A lot of the guns don't have official models. Like it's just what it is.
Yeah. So I love that about this system, Necromunda. I think it's great. I mean, and bizarrely enough, like I said before, I'm still learning the game. So it's very strange for me to be doing this project without having even ever played Necromunda. Well, I've been around at my friends' houses and they've been playing it, and I'm definitely going to go and watch more games and get into it, because I need to as well for myself to get my head into the rule set, which is fine. But there's going to be a few people when I design a set of tabs for a certain, like the House of Iron, I think. Let's say I design that set of tabs, and I'll put set to it, and I will say to everybody, there's a design. What do you think? And someone's going to say, well, you've obviously missed out this and this one. I'll be like, okay, cool, let's change that. So I will get my head into it. But being a newbie, there'll be some pros out there.
No, that's a good thing.
Pick up on a few things, which is what I want.
For folks who are going to be backing, take a look and see what you think, and give feedback, because you could actually influence, the kind of final product, which is, that's the cool thing about crowdfunding, is, we get to all kind of, have our input. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I gotta ask, of course, what are the backing levels?
With the Blood Bowl one, I originally did a set of tabs for the main rulebook, and that was it. And then I had Kickstarter goals because I wasn't sure whether people pick up on it. And I've done nearly the same thing with this one. The initial campaign is for the main rulebook, and then I'm going to do the 6 house books as an initial thing, because most people have the rulebook and a gang from a certain house.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are a lot of other books. And I think I've set my goal to like £4,000. And if I can get up to that amount, then I could turn my attention to all the other books. And I'm going to have all those as add-ons. So, and this happened with the Blood Bowl thing. I had people saying, our club would like to buy the set. Could you do a set of 5 of the main rule book? And I was like, right, okay. Right. So I changed the pledges as it went along to kind of what people wanted. I'm going to try and encompass, I am going to try and do all the books. But I'm still working out which books might not be used a lot, because obviously with the cost of printing and stuff, I don't want to end up with thousands of tabs of a book that nobody really buys.
Right.
So again, that I mean, I know the main rule book and the 6 house books are the mainly used ones. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the kind of side books, the Book of Peril, Book of Judgment, Book of Ruin, and Book of the Outlands. Those are the kind of those are the like main books where all the different gang lists are, and then you've got
and then
two recent.
Is it Cinderak Burning? Is that right?
Yeah. So there's two Aranthian Succession books. There's Cinderak Burning, and there is Vaults of Temnos, and those are like it's like a campaign book that also they squeeze like just a little bit of necessary rules into. So like even if you don't want to play the campaign, if you happen to play Escher or Goliath in the Ash Waste and you want their vehicle rules, you got to get Cinderak Burning, and if you want the brute for the cops, then you got to get Vaults of Temnos. You know, they kind of spread things around like that, as they are wont to do.
I think they know what they're doing.
yeah, exactly.
When it comes to selling books,
doesn't make our lives easier. That's for sure.
No, I mean, when I looked at this, I was like, oh, there's a 1 rule book and 6 house books. I was like, no, there's about 14 books, I think, all in all, 13. I'm like, wow, okay. That's a lot to get my head around.
But especially because the Ash Waste rule book is very similar to the first rule book, but it's not quite the same because they put all the vehicle rules into it. But then they didn't release it separately. So like there's still the official rule book, and then there's all the vehicle rules in the Ash Waste book, and then there's all the vehicle rules in the Outlands book. It's just like, this is chaos.
Yeah, and then you got to get your gang, your house book as well. So that's 4 books really.
Yeah, and then if you want your gang's special vehicle, then you have to get whatever expansion book has that in it, unless you're playing Orlok.
Yeah. So I think the initial pledge is the main rule book and then the house books, and I'm probably going to do all the other books as add-ons because I think most Necromunda players would have the official rule book 100%. That's the main book, and then if they do want any house books, that's fine. And then if I hit the Kickstarter points, then they can buy the other books as add-ons as we move along.
Makes sense.
So, and I think I'm right in saying Kickstarter, because obviously only the second campaign I've done. I think that you can pledge for the main rule book and then leave it for a month or so, and then come back to the campaign, and you may see that other book's been covered now, and you can add that into your pledge as an add-on.
That's right, like as an add-on.
Yeah, because I mean it was that's pretty much what happened with Blood Bowl ones. We did the first book, and then it just so happened, people were saying we need the Sevens book doing and the Dungeon Ball book doing, and then they're like, we're going to do the Almanac. So we just built it, and then I just let people decide what they wanted to buy.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And then I had the whole nightmare of like shipping stuff all over the place, and oof.
Yeah, that part's not so fun.
Well, the tabs come from the printers in slips, and I've got to pile these up and put the envelopes in and the sticker and da-da-da. And so my girlfriend spent a good day one day just filling envelopes up and posting stuff. Right. It's just like, but hey ho.
At least it's envelopes, when you're gonna deal with like boxes of merchandise, it gets to be a little unwieldy.
Yeah, I've seen these people that do the Kickstarter campaigns for teams, and they're selling big boxes of stuff and shipping that all over the world. Must be a nightmare.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
I mean, I keep the prices as super low as I can. So I think shipping to the US is £4. Europe is £3. Yeah, and the UK is just £2. So. Yeah, I try not to make any money off the shipping. To me, the shipping is just the cost of the stamp, the envelope, and a little bit of time, and that's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, again with the tabs, I mean, the Blood Bowl ones were £6 for a book, and then I did offers like you could have the main book and then 2 other books, but they weren't quite full price, so they went down. The more you bought, the further they went down. And I try to squeeze out as much as possible. But again, it'll be down to feedback, because I know people are going to want the tab sets for the main rule book, but it'd be interesting for me to see which books are popular. Because if I see a book that's obviously going to sell a lot more, then for me to print more is actually bizarrely enough a bit less, because the bigger the print runs, the smaller the unit prices, so I can kind of balance stuff off.
Makes sense.
It'll be interesting to work out what people are generally wanting. I'm looking forward to it. You know, like I said, it's launching on Saturday, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, great. So there is a link, and this video will go up. Saturday. So there is a link to the campaign in the notes down below. So check that out.
Oh.
That about covers it. You know, you've done this before.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one thing we touched on, that people are wary of pledging on Kickstarter. You know, are you gonna, you're gonna pledge $10, $20, $30, and then you think 6 months later, hang on, I never got that.
Yep.
Obviously, the last campaign for me was the bulk of the work, because finding the printers and the correct materials. I think when you start your Kickstarter campaign, it asks you what the risks are, and in the last one, I put the risks down as finding the correct company that can make these tabs and produce them properly.
Right.
But I've achieved that risk now, and that isn't a risk at all. Like, these tabs basically just need to be designed by community, hopefully, and put into the right sections, onto the right pages, because the difficult part, the technical part, has already been achieved. And I've already sent these 1,000 packages of them all over the world. You know, and it's quite nice seeing people. They've arrived in America, they've arrived in the Bahamas, I had them in Japan, I had them all over the place. And I was saying to people, send me the photos, because I have a little Facebook page. I was like, this is great. Right. People all over the world, you know, it's like, and they're actually arriving and people are happy with them. So, yeah, they will arrive.
That's excellent. Yeah. So, you know, this is not one of those high risk, Kickstarters, like, where someone's dealing with a lot of moving parts. It's a fairly straightforward project, and I think it's useful for a lot of people. So everybody check it out. And do you want to give a shout out to anyone before you go? I always like to check.
No, I'll just shout out to you for having me on this. That's fantastic. I think I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for chatting with me.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And thanks as always to Carl Casey at White Bat Audio for the show's music. And of course, thank you to patrons. You guys make this entire show possible. And for as little as $2 a month, you too can become a patron at patreon.com/domerunners. And don't forget to check out the podcast on iTunes and of course, Google Play and Spotify and anywhere else that you get your podcasts from. And everybody out there, please stay safe. And don't forget to change your paint water.